Australians see their fair share of bushfires, but no one could have predicted the conditions that led to Black Saturday. February 7th, 2009 was the hottest day ever recorded in Victoria. Strong winds fanned fire fronts that tore across the landscape at up to 100 kilometres an hour. And for many of the fire's victims, there was truly no warning. There are some inspiring stories of people who risked everything to get the warnings through on Black Saturday. One took place right here in the town of Marysville. 4 local policemen drove here as the fire closed in on all sides. There was only one road into town that had not been cut off by fire, and they knew time was running out. Their message was simple: get out now or die. So when you turned up right here on this oval on that day, what was it like?
Yeah, it was a very, very hot summer's day, 45 degrees Celsius. High winds, very hot winds, and the day just got worse until what happened and the town burned.
And this very oval where we are was where people came when things started to get serious.
This is known in town as the place to come, because simply it's the biggest open area. And I can remember as we drove in that track that all of these tall trees at the side were burning from basically the top to bottom. There would have been estimation of about 50 cars, maybe 200 people in and around the oval. So there was people here and on this area. There were people that were asking questions and, you know, could we stay or could we do this? Yeah. And I just said, look, you'd best just leave.
So what was that like? I mean, obviously people wanting to stay, not wanting to go. How do you, in that situation, get them to leave? How do you express that urgency? Like, what do you say? What did you say?
Well, you just firm. I remember one girl, local girl, she stopped her car because she had a horse tied up at the far end of the oval. And she said, what about my horse? And I said, look, don't worry about your horse, just keep going. And to her credit, she did.
Did you at any point think that you would even maybe not make it out?
Yeah.
Because really you were risking your life, you know, staying back to make sure that even that very last car.
It's hard to explain in words, the emotions. 2 thoughts I can remember was, one, what's the point of no return? That even if you decided to go, oops, too late. You know, was there an invisible point that you would leave it too long and not even know that you couldn't get out? So that was on my mind. Then, of course, the other thing is you're dealing with something very expensive, and that's your life, something you can't replace. I suppose it's difficult. I mean, there were people that did survive the fire. They stayed in town and survived it, either because they were in the right place, luckily, or the house didn't burn for some reason. There were a handful of houses that didn't burn. And the first person I talked to was a man whose house didn't burn, and he was still there. And I talked to him that morning, and I was happy for him at that stage because his house was still there and he was alive.
One very lucky man.
But he wasn't very happy. And it wasn't till some minutes later I learned that his wife had passed away just 100 metres away.
So, Peter, when you were driving around that day, what did you do to get that message across? How did you warn people?
Well, if we saw people coming out of their driveways or in the street, we'd stop and tell them that they needed to move. And to be honest with you, the streets were pretty empty. I can't remember anybody in the main drag at all. But there were individuals in different driveways that were sort of, I suppose, a little bit confused about what was happening. And we'd stop and shout at them that they had to get out of town fast. And in some cases I was fairly blunt, because I found that the blunter you were, the more attention they paid to you. I can remember saying, at least on one occasion, to some fella that he needs to get the out of town or he was going to die. And sometime later he came back and said to me, thanks for telling me like that. He says, because I had no doubts then that you were pretty serious about it, and I didn't second guess it.
Marysville lost a lot of residents that Saturday, but there are people in this town who survived because amidst the panic, a few brave people were willing to risk their lives to make sure that warnings got through to them. That's what Real Love's all about, doing whatever it takes to save others.